The other big one, I think, is leaving yourself an uphill putt. So sometimes you're chipping from, say, it's a slopey green and you're trying to, hit a chip shot close, and you leave it 8 foot short uphill, and you're like, oh, this is fine because it's straight uphill putt. But you're much better off having a 6-footer downhill with 3% of break. You're going to make more of those. And that's something else that, again, people talk a lot about, oh, I want to leave myself Augusta National. I want to leave myself an uphill putt. But even on greens like Augusta, it's easier to make a 5-footer downhill with a foot of break than it is to make a 7-footer straight uphill.
Big congratulations on qualifying for the U.S. Open at Pinehurst. How excited are you?
Yeah, it's going to be great fun. I haven't played in 3 years. Torrey Pines was my last one, and I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. So you did you go through, you qualified at Walton Heath, I believe?
Yes, correct. So we have this, call it international qualifier, whatever, at Walton Heath, and I had been playing for many years, and I never made it through there. I made it once through the race to Dubai Order of Merit when I qualified in 21. And then I played in many years ago. I was top 50 in the world. And this year, it was a good day. Just played well, and I got lucky, and I can't wait.
Yeah, no, Walton Heath is a fantastic place. I was really interested to see you got through there. And just for our listeners who don't know what, or might not know too much about Heathland Golf or Walton Heath, what's the best way to play? I mean, we're definitely going to talk about statistics today. What's the best way to go around a Heathland golf course statistically, like Walton Heath?
Well, Heathland, I think the biggest factor is keeping the ball in play off the tee and avoid the heath as much as possible. I mean, it's very penalizing sometimes. It looks like you have a good lie, but that kind of, I wouldn't even call it grass, but like the heath is very, very strong. Yeah. And you can get some very bad shots out of there. So obviously priority number one is to keep it within the heath. So on the fairways, maybe in the rough, but never in the heath all day. And then I think that the greens are quite tricky at Walton Heath. They're they have very subtle slopes, like never big slopes, but it's like sometimes you have a 20-footer and it might break, 2 times to the left and 1 time to the right. So it's quite difficult to read them.
Yeah, no, definitely. A lot of challenges out there and a really fun day of golf. So headed off to Pinehurst, pretty soon. What has your preparation for Pinehurst been like?
Well, I've never played the course. I've talked to some of the guys that I work with, and Francesco, my brother, that he played there in 2014. I've watched a little bit of footage, and it looks like it's going to be firm and fast. A lot of elevated greens with runoff areas. So again, I mean, like any US Open, you have to first of all keep the ball in play off the tee, and then it's obviously tough scoring. So I think short game would be quite important, making sure that you miss on the right side of the greens, but then making sure that from there you can get it up and down pretty often, because you won't be able to hit 15, 16 greens around there.
Yeah, for sure. Have you been able to look at sort of a hole by hole, have you been able to go through the course and apply any of your sort of statistical analysis about the best ways to play each hole?
Yeah, I haven't done it yet, because obviously I was playing last week in Belgium, and then I'm playing this week again in Germany on DP World Tour. So next week I'll have some time to look at the data a little bit. Obviously there wasn't a shot link in 2014 when they played.
Okay.
So the data there is extremely limited, and that's why I'm going there a little bit early, just to have some time for myself and just walk the course and just get it all in before the crowds come and the US Open week starts.
Yeah, for sure. So when you say you're going to be looking into the data, what are you looking for? Are you looking for just sort of, okay, this is where the birdies are coming from, or this is where the bogeys are coming from?
Yeah, so usually what I do is you start with a broader analysis of how the golf course plays, what's important to do well around there, whether it's short irons, long irons, mid irons, whether you have to hit a lot of fairways, whether how penal is the rough, or anytime you miss the fairway. So that would be the first thing you look at, and then you start going like hole by hole and looking at with every pin, there's always a spot where you get an easy up and down, and there's a spot where it's like dead usually. Mm-hmm. So then you start plotting your way around and figure it out, right? Which this front pin on one, let's say, I mean, that left bunker is fine, but the right bunker is not good. And then you just make notes on the yardage book until you get to the end. And then obviously you play the course a few times and you keep adding notes and stuff. But I think these days you can really do a lot with data, and just even before you get there, you can actually know exactly what's going to happen, what to expect, what to practice the week before, and so on.
It'll be interesting because you work with some folks who are going to be in the field, whether that be Viktor or Fitzpatrick. So will you be working? How does that work? Well, because you want to win too. So, I mean, are you sharing all your information? Yeah. Do you go around together?
Yeah, I mean, it happens every week, even here in Europe. I'm still playing full time, and I mean, out here I probably have 15 to 20 guys week in, week out. That on one side I'm trying to beat, on the other side I'm trying to help. So it can be a little bit tricky, but at the end of the day, I try to do the best I can for them. Regarding US Open, I've reached out to both Fitzy and Viktor already, and a couple other players, and it'd be good to play practice rounds together. Obviously, I think always they like to pick my brain and discuss situations together, which is great. But on the other hand, I also learned a lot just by playing with them and seeing how they go about things, and just even how they practice. Or usually, I always say that you want to practice with players that play better than you. Yeah. And doing this stat thing allowed me to, have countless practice rounds with Viktor, with Fitzy, with others when I go over there. And I mean, it's fun, but it's also helping my game as well.
How did this stat thing come about, right? So I live in Philadelphia, and I remember you busting on the scene in 2005 at the USAM, which is very exciting. And you've had a great playing career. Were statistics always something you were interested in? How did you sort of transition into becoming this statistics strategist and sort of leader in that field?
Yeah, so I studied engineering when I was in university back home in Italy, where I live. And I've always liked the number, data, stats kind of things. So towards the end of my engineering career or degree, I started to develop a very small Excel spreadsheet to keep track of my own stats, which in the beginning was super simple, like fairway greens, number of putts. Mm-hmm. And then each and every week, each and every month, I would add where I was missing the putt and the break on the putts, and then which clubs into the green, and then on and on and on. And I thought it was quite useful for my own benefit, for my own game. Just understanding, when I went to the golf course, especially when I was still in university, I didn't have 24/7. It was only 24/7 golf. So I had to, if I go to the golf course 2 hours one afternoon, I had to know exactly what I wanted to work on, what I needed to work on. And I thought that was quite, a simple way, but in a way I had some kind of data to see what was happening. And then I turned pro and I started to go a little bit deeper into it, because I felt like if this is my livelihood now, I need to make sure that I don't make any mistakes, at least in terms of preparation and training. And it just it kept getting more and more in depth. Then I met Mark Rowley back in 2010 when Strokes Gain Putting came out. 2011, early 2011. And we became good friends. We started chatting about things and discussing ideas. And again, I was picking his brain, he was picking mine. And then towards the end of 19, so we're talking after 16, 7 years of doing this, a few guys on DP World Tour came to know that I had this, I had my own stats system and I was doing stats myself. And at the time, there was a couple of companies out here that were providing this kind of service. And a few of them, one of the first one was Fitzy. He came to me and said, will I be able to use your system? Because I think it's better than what's out there. Which at the time, it was a bit difficult because it was all written in Italian. All the reports were in Italian. So then COVID happened. So I told him, look, we can't do it. But then COVID happened. And then during COVID, I had obviously a lot of time on my hands. And I said, well, why don't I build something that maybe a few players will use it. It'd be something that, as a hobby, as a side gig would be quite good. I showed it to Fitzy during COVID, so it was like probably April 2020, just on a Zoom call like this. And he said, "Oh, I love this. This is unbelievable. I didn't think this was even possible. So I love to start as soon as I restart playing after COVID." Great. And I thought, "Oh, this is good. If Fitzy plays well, then maybe a few other players come on board." And I said to myself, if I can get to 10 players, that's the maximum I can manage. That's it. It will take a few years, and fine, no problem. And then sure enough, Fitzy starts to play really well. He spoke about me a couple of times. And within 9 weeks, I think, 10 weeks, I had 10 players already. So then I had to hire a person and then, try to make it, usable by more and more people. And then now, basically 4 years down the line, 3.5 since we started, 4 years, I've got 4 people that 3 of them are working full time. 1 is only part time. And then, we got 20 something players on DP World Tour. Then we have another dozen on the PGA Tour, a couple of girls on the LPGA, a couple of senior players on the Champions Tour. So it's just becoming bigger and bigger. And obviously with the Ryder Cup last year, it was a lot of advertising that, with my name, with what I was doing. And there's, pretty much every couple of weeks I get a call from a new player saying, "Oh, can I please see what you're doing?" And so it's great fun. It's obviously I'm very, very busy. I don't have any time to watch TV shows or Instagram or none of that. But I enjoy it, and I'm towards the end of my playing career. I will only play another few years, so it's something that will keep me nice and busy for the rest of pretty much as long as I want, I think.
It'll keep you very busy. So when you sign up a new client, what is you say, your system, is it sort of, are they getting a sort of download of information? Is it tailored to them? I don't want you to give any trade secrets away, but what's in the system?
Well, it's, to start with, it's completely tailored to them. So some guys like Fitzy, they would like to record pretty much any possible information about any shot. Other guys, they just want to have some basic ideas of what's going on and just have a guy that tracks the stats for them. And if I see something happening, then just send a text and an email, whatever, with a report, with some data, with some comparison. So, the service is very much personalized and customized to whatever the player wants. So we go from one extreme to the other, where sometimes I don't even speak to the player. I just speak with, the caddy, the coach, the putting coach, whatever. Other times there's like, a continual conversation with the player itself. And then I think we track and record a lot of stuff that you don't see on ShotLink or on, any shot trackers. Like obviously on ShotLink is great because it gives you access to a lot of data from the whole field. So you can understand how certain hole plays, what's the best strategy in certain situations and stuff like that. But then there's a lot of things missing, like, weather conditions and the clubs they hit and when they were aiming, where they were aiming off the tee and into the greens, and then the breaks on the putts. And then, there's a lot of stuff that goes missing in ShotLink because, technology is not there yet. So what we do basically is we try and integrate everything we get from ShotLink with some info that only the player or the caddy can tell us, like the breaks on the putts, which club they hit, where they were trying to go, what shot shape they had on that shot, and then just put everything together and then start looking for patterns and trends and find ways to help them.
So you mentioned the Ryder Cup, and obviously watching that Ryder Cup, yes, you were talked about a lot, and the advantage that the Europeans might have had through this sort of statistical analysis that you and Luke Donald were employing. How was that used? Was it a matter of, okay, we're using it, it was most influential in terms of the pairings, or was it individual players in terms of shot selection or things like that? How does statistics impact a team format like that?
Well, I think they impact the team, like a team event like that, in many different ways, probably much more than what people can think of. Obviously, you start, when Luke and I spoke the first time, it was 16 months before the Ryder Cup. As soon as he was named captain, the very next day, he gave me a call and asked if I wanted to help. And I said, yes, of course, sure. So we started from looking at the qualifying process that we changed a little bit. So just to make sure that we had the best 12 players possible in the team. So there was something to start with. Then we look at course setup. Obviously, as a home Ryder Cup, you have a good control of what you can do with the golf course. So you don't decide on the tees and the pins because there's like a independent committee that decides on those. But then you can decide on like the height of the rough and, the width of the fairways. And you can say, I would like the greens to be a certain speed rather than other speeds. So there's a bunch of stuff that you can do. And then obviously you combine that with a good statistical profile for each player or for the team as a whole. And you try and find areas where we're better than them at this, we're worse than them at that. So you try and hide your weaknesses and show your strength as much as possible. And then finally was obviously deciding on the wildcards, on the picks, and then doing the pairings. I think the pairing was very, very big because obviously you have 12 players to pair with each other, force on 4 balls. Someone needs to rest. Someone rests the first day. Someone wants to rest the second day. Someone doesn't want to play 36 holes at all. Someone loves to play 36 holes. Then you got different balls. I mean, you got so many variables that I think the pairings was the thing that we spent the most time on. I mean, we started looking at them, I want to say 4 or 5 months before the Ryder Cup, starting to, form ideas and look at the data. And then, starting talking to the players as well, because obviously the player has a lot to say in it. Like if, maybe statistically they could be a fantastic pairings, player A and B, but then if they don't get along with each other, if they play balls that are completely different to each other, it could be quite tricky. So obviously, as I said, I think the pairings took a lot of time. I think, it was good that, last year I had a good start of the year. And then during the summer, I was just so busy doing this with Luke that, phone calls and emails and text and just trying to sort everything out. And then finally, I think it was about 2 weeks before the Ryder Cup, we just had the pairings done. The plan was in place. We had an alternative for every pairing in case one of the two didn't play very well. But we were lucky enough that everyone was in decent form, and we just went with the plan that we decided for 2 weeks before. The players were completely aware of what's going to happen. And played out to perfection almost.
Indeed it did for Team Europe. Looking ahead, though, Bethpage Black is a little bit of a different animal. And obviously everyone's talked about the challenges of an away team winning on foreign soil. Have you started looking at the golf course and digging into the data there? You're, of course, a vice captain for 2025 as well.
Yeah. So we went there with Luke about 10 days ago. We spent 2 days on the property. We played one day. We kind of had a look around the other day, just to form ideas and have a look at the place. Obviously, we don't have control on the golf course this time, but I think that's a bit overrated. I mean, I would say 20 years ago that was massive because the European players were very different type of players to the American players. Historically, we've always been shorter, straighter hitters. The US players usually were long hitters, higher ball flight, better putters. So it was two completely different skill set that we had. I think now with all the best players in the world playing on the PGA Tour, then everyone is kind of playing the same type of golf. So you have to look at very small details, and over 12 players, it can be quite tricky to find stuff to help with the course setup. So I think, I don't think course setup will have a massive influence this time around. Obviously, Bethpage is a course where they played majors before, that some of the players played quite a few rounds, so they know very well. It's a big golf course. I think it's going to be fantastic for the Ryder Cup with the New York crowds. They can be tough, but on the other hand, it can be a lot of fun to play in front of them. So I think you just need the right attitude, the right mindset, and it's going to be very difficult. As Luke said, as I think Rory was the one that put it best. And I think this was in Rome. As soon as we finished, we had a press conference, and someone asked him about Bethpage. And Rory being Rory, very very bluntly, he said, "Well, these days in golf, probably the most difficult thing is to win an away Ryder Cup, and that's what we're trying to do in 2 years." But he's right. I mean, it's extremely difficult. The teams these days are very close to each other. Usually, the Americans are always favored on paper, but it's going to be great fun, and hopefully we can pull off another small miracle.
I wonder if there's a way to apply data or a statistic to New York fans. that is, I guess that's just one of those intangibles. Or I guess maybe you look at players who thrive in very high pressure, or maybe they play well at waste management or something. But you imagine the crowd is going to be, it's going to be interesting.
It's going to be loud, but as I said, it's going to be good fun. I think you have to embrace it. You have to, take it in the right way. And to be honest, I both Luke and I can't wait to be there, and I think it's going to be a great week for all the players.
Did you have to? I hope you didn't have to sleep in your car to get on Bethpage Black. You probably you were able to just get on the golf course.
We got lucky. We had some connections, so we teed off first off. It was just the two of us at 7 a.m. and we got done in 3 hours walking. It was quick.
Whoa. Anyone listening to this from New York, that'll be the most exciting revelation of them, that you can play Bethpage Black in 3 hours.
Oh, yeah. Usually, we teed off at 7 and we finished. Actually, I think it was just under 3 hours. But, both Luke and I are very quick players. We don't hang about. And we still had time, to have a look and, look at, possible tees that they can move and stuff like that. So it was, we were not running at all.
Well, it's going to be exciting. Do you remember... Can you think of a moment, you're getting into statistics and you're looking at how it impacts your game, and then looks at others' game. Was there a moment where you thought, man, there's really something to this? Was it maybe there was a statistic that really maybe surprised you, or where you thought, ooh, I really should pay attention to this, that there's more to it than just strokes gained or whatever?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. Obviously you mentioned it. I think strokes gained kind of revolutionized the world of statistics in golf. Up until then, it was like fairways, greens, number of putts per green. It was very very basic. With strokes gain, I think all of a sudden a whole new world opened, and I think we have to give credit to Mark Brody for that, because it was his idea, and if he didn't come up with that idea, we would still probably be using fairways and greens. All of a sudden we had this massive leap forward in stats and data and analytics. And then I think that combined with ShotLink all of a sudden give you the option to look at courses in a completely different way. As far as like discoveries or stuff like that, there's a lot of stuff. I think one of the things is that when you actually look at, you hear people talking on TV a lot about angles. Oh, he's got a good angle, he's got a terrible angle to this pin. And when you actually look at the data, like as long as you're on the fairway, the angle into the pin, into the green, doesn't change one bit, regardless of the wind direction, of the pin position, of how firm the greens are. It just doesn't matter. Because then if you think about it, if the pin is on the left side and I'm playing from the left side of the fairway, I'm going more like over a hazard rather than having the hazard on the side. And that's usually easier. Like it's easier for us to play over water than with water on the side. So yes, maybe it's a bit more difficult to hit it close, but on the other hand, I'm short-sighting myself less often, and the two things outweigh each other. So that's one thing that you still hear these days a lot on TV. Oh, he's got a great angle into this pin. That's completely irrelevant. It doesn't matter. As long as he's on the fairway, that's fine. Left or right side of the fairway, it's fine. Wow. It doesn't change.
So what else are we putting too much stock in terms of the way we approach golf holes and thinking we have to do this or we have to be there, and maybe those are just statistically been proven to be fallacies?
Well, the other big one I think is leaving yourself an uphill putt. So sometimes you're chipping from, say it's a slopey green and you're trying to hit a chip shot close. and you leave it 8 foot short uphill, and you're like, oh, this is fine because it's straight uphill putt. But you're much better off having a 6-footer downhill with 3% of break. You're going to make more of those. And that's something else that, again, people talk a lot about, oh, I want to leave myself Augusta National. I want to leave myself an uphill putt. But even on greens like Augusta, it's easier to make a 5-footer downhill with a foot of break than it is to make a 7-footer straight uphill. And, people sometimes it's like, oh, no, this is impossible. But you can go try on the putting green and you'll see that, if you did 100 putts of one kind and 100 putts of the other kind, you're going to make more 5-footers than 7-footers.
See, yeah.
So
I think that's
there's
a great
lot
one.
of stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that, sometimes you hear these comments on TV or even, playing partners, and it's like, if you actually knew the numbers, it's not exactly right.
Right. See, I always felt that because, like, okay, I've had a somewhat distinguished Monday scramble career in my time, and when you have five people choosing a putt, right? And they're like, oh, we'll take the uphill putt. And I always would say, no, let's take the downhill putt, because at least with 5 of us, if we're going downhill, we're probably all going to get it to the hole. And that's really the only way that it goes in. And if we're going uphill, there's a chance 3 of us are going to leave it short. So
especially if it's downhill. I mean, in a scramble, like downhill, the difficult thing is to get the line right. Mm-hmm. It's a bit like going downwind. But once you have the line right downhill, it's almost like you can't miss. If you think about it, a straight downhill putt, if you push it a bit, it's going to come back towards the center. If you pull it a bit, it's going to come back towards the center. So as long as once you know the line, then it's almost unmissable. While the uphill putt is the opposite. Like the uphill putt, if it starts right, it breaks to the right. If it starts left, it breaks left. Yeah.
One's gaining momentum. One has momentum. The other one's losing momentum, and it doesn't have a chance to get back. Oh, I love it. I love this stuff. That's fantastic. I mentioned Marion, and the U.S. Open's coming back 2030. Mm-hmm. We're very excited about that here in Philadelphia. So I went back and I was looking at that tournament, USAM in 2005, and people might forget, and we won't forget you that week, and that being, it was a huge deal, and an Italian hadn't won. I don't know if an Italian had won the USAM before, and had not, and it was a big coming out party. There was all this excitement about it, and people might forget that you had to hole out to get through match play. Tell us about that shot. Is that a shot you ever think about, and maybe how differently your life would have gone without that miraculous shot on your final hole, which was the 9th. You finished on the 9th, I believe. Yeah,
there's a few shots about that week that I still remember very fondly, and sometimes, as you say, I think back and I think, well, maybe if I didn't pull it off, then I wouldn't be here today. I would be doing something else. I don't know. It's just one of those sliding door moments that, sometimes you get on the lucky end of it, and there you go. So I had to, in the qualifying, I teed off the 10th hole at Marion. So I was finishing on the par 3 9th, and I felt like I had to make a birdie to qualify, and probably a par was going to be good enough for a play out. Mm-hmm. And I hit the tee shot in the left bunker. The pin was like front left, front center. It was a reasonably easy bunker shot, but still. And then I hold it, and when I hold it, I thought, oh, this is perfect. This is the cut made. And then eventually it turned out that we had to play out. I think it was something like 18 players for 16 spots. Yeah, it took us like 2 hours to play 2-3 holes, and then I remember I parked the first, parked the second one, and that was good enough to go into match play. And then even the first couple of rounds of match play, I think both matches I was down pretty much the whole way, and I won one on the 19th and one on the 20th, something like that. And then I started to play really well and won a couple of matches, like 5-4, 4-3, whatever. And then semi-final, I remember I played the guy that won the US Mid-Am the day before. The year before. So he played Augusta National, the Masters that year, and he showed up in the semi-final with an Augusta National T-shirt. And obviously, me coming from Italy, having been to Augusta National, I'm like, I'd like to have that T-shirt. But yeah, I played well, and I think I beat him 2-1, 3-1, I think it was. And then
off you were. And winning that, you get to go get your T-shirt.
Yeah, I mean, that was I remember still to this day, that was probably the most pressure I've ever felt on a golf course, those 18 holes. Because obviously, as an amateur, you're playing for your chance to get in the Masters, get into the US Open. And even though that summer, so a couple of months before the US Am, I had qualified for the Open Championship and I played the Open at St. Andrews. It's still, when you play that match, it's like, well, if I win this, I get to play Augusta National, I get to play US Open. And you don't know how many chances you will have in your lifetime to do that.
Yeah.
So it was like, it's a match that, it's probably the only time that I was very, very happy to finish a round of golf and say, right, this is over with. No more of this. Never again.
Edoardo, I'm going to hire you for a second because I'm actually going to play Marion tomorrow. And
okay.
I'd like to get some expertise statistically. You know nothing about my game, but the best way to get around to try and I'd love to put together a decent number. I don't get out there often enough.
First of all,
Nobody
I'm very
does.
envious of you. I like I've only been there once since I won the US Am. I think I went there the year after. The US Open was at Winged Foot, and the week before I was there with my girlfriend and my parents just for a day. And then I haven't been back since. So, yeah, that's good.
Well, next time you're around, we can make it happen.
Yeah. And as far as the golf course, again, it's typical US Open venue. Like it's very slopey greens. It's not overly long, especially for this, for today's game. But there's a lot of slopey putts. It's very, very important to hit the fairways. I remember when we played in August, the rough was up. And we got some rain at some point during the week, but before it rained, it was borderline impossible because like a lot of the fairways was like a bit slopey and so firm. It just played so narrow. I remember it was very difficult, but it's a great golf course. I mean, you got a great variety of holes. You got like shorter holes, longer holes. Most of the greens, I would say, are very, very small compared to other US Open venues. But it's a fantastic golf course. Yeah.
It sure is. Yeah. So very excited to get out there. So speaking of amateurs trying to put together numbers, you are the Chief Data Strategist and lead tour ambassador for Arccos and are at the Golfers Journal. If you are a member of the Golfers Journal, you have access to a free year of membership to Arccos and discounts on their products. So great partners of ours. And which is very exciting because Arccos, you talked about some of those statistics that are hard to track. I mean, Arccos obviously can capture a lot of data for its users. Why is it important? If you're a 15 handicap and you're saying like, man, I'm just trying to, or an 18 handicap, you're like, I'm just trying to find the center of the club face and get around. How can statistics help sort of more of the average golfer?
Yeah, I think they can help the average golfer as much as they help the pros. I mean, obviously, maybe in different aspects of the game, but I'm convinced that it's very, very important for anyone to understand what's going on in your game. I would say, first of all, is when you go for a lesson, the first question that your teaching pro may ask is, like, how did you play recently? And like, if you have something to show him and say, right, I've been missing right of the tee and I've been, poor with my wedge play and I'm, bad with my short putting, and you actually have the numbers to back it up and show it to him, then the next time you go for a lesson, you can actually say, right, I'm improving, I'm not improving, I'm still the same, whatever I've been working on, it's working, it's not working, it's making me a better golfer or not. Without the stats, even for someone like me that plays a lot of rounds and have a good understanding of my own game, it would be completely impossible to do it. Not a chance. So that's the first thing. I think the other thing as well, it's important to, even when you play a golf course, if you know that, or I miss a lot of my tee shots to the right with driver, but I don't do so with the 3-wood. Then if there's a hole with OB right and it's not a long hole, all of a sudden you say, right, I might pull out a 3-wood. But again, it's all like there's a lot of small things that without tracking your stats and your game accurately, you cannot do. I mean, the beauty of Arccos is obviously that you have to do pretty much nothing at all. You just put the sensors on the club, you play a round of golf, you do 2-3 minutes of editing at the end of the round. That's it. You don't have to, enter all the info that sometimes we need to enter on tour. So it's like having almost like your own version of ShotLink, a little bit more simplified, but I think that's extremely important for any golfer, not only good golfers. Like even a 20 handicap, after a few months, you can understand, a lot more about your game than just trying to guess and saying, oh, I'm a bad putter, full stop.
Yeah, it's hard to improve if you don't know where you need to improve.
Yeah.
And it's fun tracking all that stuff. You kind of feel like I
think it's you can even like set goals for yourself. Like if you see that compared to your peers you're losing 2 shots of the tee per day, it's like, all right, let's try in 6 months time, let's see if I can get back to level. I think it's very useful.
Very cool. So in terms of stats, where are most of us making our mistakes in terms of for amateur golfers? Are there things that
I think
this is where you see where the errors are?
Yeah, obviously we play Pro-Am every week, and I can guarantee you that tomorrow I see a lot of what I'm about to say. I think first off, I think amateurs don't know how far they hit the ball, which again is something that with Arccos you don't need to do anything. You just track your shots, and all of a sudden you have like your yardage chart for every club. Usually, I play tomorrow with 3 amateurs, and I will ask them on the first fairway, we're 150 yards away from the pin, and I say, how far you hit your 9-iron? And they go, 155 yards. And I'm like, well, I hit my 9-iron 150 yards, and I'm a tour pro. You're a 12 handicap, 60 years old. You don't hit your 9-iron 55 yards. I can guarantee you that.
Right.
So then I think that's the biggest mistake, is like underclubbing every time. And on most courses, all the hazards, especially for amateurs, are like at the front of the green. There's nothing wrong being at the back of the green. And it seems like they always pick the club that if they flush it, they pitch it probably 5 yards short of the pin. But as soon as they miss-hit it, they're like 15, 20 yards short. They never pick a club that if I flush it, 10 yards past the pin, but then if I miss-hit it, I'm just front edge. That would save like a silly number of shots per round just to start with. So that's one thing. The other thing is, I would say they underestimate the slopes on the greens, the strength of the wind. So like if there's a right to left wind, you're guaranteed that they're going to miss left. If there's a right to left putt, they're always going to miss low. So I think it's almost like whatever you see on the greens is like, I'm not going to say double, but like it's a lot more than what you think. Mm-hmm. Especially once you get on quicker greens, it's more and more. Other stuff. I think one thing, going back to the stats and Arccos, I think one thing that is very important to track for amateurs is how many times they leave the tee shot in play. So after they hit the tee shot, do they have a chance to go for the green? It doesn't matter whether it's on the fairway, in the rough, in a fairway bunker, but as long as you have a chance to go for the green. Like I think the biggest mistake is, I'm hitting driver here and I've got, there's a, let's say 30-yard wide fairway, there's water hazard on one side and there's only fairway bunkers and some rough on the other. I mean, usually the typical 15 handicap should pretty much aim in the rough on the right. Like the first priority is avoid water hazard, avoid OBs, avoid lost ball, like avoid all penalty shots at all cost. Mm-hmm. And then, your game is going to improve straight away. Yeah,
for sure. Those are, if we can save those shots, they should be the easiest to save. The shots that we're not even taking. But we got to think about it. Where are you coming to us from right now? Are you in Italy?
No, I'm in Hamburg, Germany, and we're playing a European Open this week in a very
Right.
good golf course. It's called Green Eagle. It's one of the longest that we play on tour, and yeah, it's a good tournament. And then I have a week off next week, and then I'll fly Saturday to the US for US Open.
Yeah, very exciting. Very excited for that, and we'll be pulling for you there. I wanted to ask you about the state of golf in Italy. How is golf doing in Italy? Aside from you and your brother, maybe not as many players coming out of Italy as one might expect. Do you think Marco Simone will have a lasting impact, or was it sort of a nice one-time thing? Or
I think I'm not very politically correct, but I think Marco Simone, unfortunately, it's a one-off thing, and it's never going to happen again. To be honest, I think golf in Italy has been pretty steady, pretty still in the last 10, 15 years. We have the same number of golfers. It became a little bit more popular, but if they told me that 15 years ago that Francesco would have won the Open Championship, Francesco and I would have played the Ryder Cup and everything, and then the number of golfers was still the same, I would have been a little bit disappointed. Because as you said, like Italy never really. Well, we had Costantino Rocca 20, 30 years ago, but it was just himself, and it was before social media, before the internet, before it was difficult even to watch him on TV. While these days, it's so access is so much better than it used to be, but still, it's not. It hasn't grown in popularity like it may have in other countries. I think France, they did a great job with the Ryder Cup. They built, obviously, Golf National, they improved it a lot. They built the French Federation, like, golf center there. They improved the practice facilities. They try to go to schools to have more kids playing the game. And I think they did a great job. And I'm not so sure. I mean, it's still early to tell, but I'm not so sure that it will have the same effect in golf in Italy.
Why do you think that is? There are a lot of great golf courses in Italy. I've even tried to go on some trips there, but it's not just. I'm not sure why that is.
Yeah.
That it's so difficult.
It's a combination of things. I think Italy, sport in Italy is pretty much soccer, and it's soccer 24/7. We don't have a culture of like embracing different sports. Everyone talk about soccer and that's it. So that's a big hurdle to get over. Secondly, I think we have some great courses, but most of them are like member courses, are like kind of high-end golf courses. But we don't have enough of the public courses of the $15 you go play 18 holes. We have none of that. And obviously, golf is a difficult game. And when someone is trying to learn how to play golf, he's not going to spend $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $10,000 on a membership at a golf club. He's going to do something else. So I think and then on top of that, I think, we should try and talk a bit more about golf in like media and newspapers, like sporting newspapers. That's always like page 35 and it's like, 4 lines. I know. I wish they involved Francesco and I a bit more when they never even asked us, "Oh, do you want to do something for like kids in schools?" Or I have like a golf academy, and we try to go to schools nearby in the area and get kids to play golf. But it's a small drop in the ocean. It's difficult to do something on your own.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that changes. But that's football first.
Yeah.
Or soccer.
Soccer.
Speaking of golf courses, a lot of, as we said, some great golf courses to visit in Italy. What's your favorite golf course? And your favorite golf course anywhere?
My favorite golf course anywhere. Good question. I've played some good ones. Yeah. I would say I've got like Loch Lomond. I think it's a great golf course in Scotland, Glasgow.
Yep.
Valderrama. It's obviously very, very tough, but it's, I like tough golf courses, and Valderrama is up there with the toughest you'll ever play. I probably need to name 4 or 5. Kingston Heath in Australia. I think it's, unbelievable. In the area there, you got probably 10 golf courses within 5 miles of each other that are just unreal. I played Shinnecock Hills once and I loved it. Cypress Point as well, very good. So those will probably be my top 5, I would say. Yeah.
Any that you what's on the top of your list to cross off on your list that you haven't been to?
Pine Valley for sure. Again, I like tough golf courses. I heard Pine Valley is one of the toughest there is. I had an invite a few years ago to go, but it was like between 2 events. It was too tight, and I didn't go. And I kind of regret it a bit now, but hopefully, one day I can go back and eventually make a connection and find a connection to play.
I will help you out. I'm not a Pine Valley member, I will say that, but living in Philadelphia, I do know enough, so we'll hook it up if you ever get back over here.
Okay, we'll do a trip and play Marion and Pine Valley then.
Done.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So I would say definitely Pine Valley on that, because I played, obviously Augusta, Pebble. I played, a lot of the good courses in America, and I think Pine Valley is still the one that kind of I would like to play.
Well, see, that's the reason I really do this podcast, Edoardo, because now that this is out there, I think the chances are pretty good that we might get pinged by someone who can get us on PV.
Let me know. I'll take the first flight.
There you go. Exactly. Awesome. So just to close, thanks again for all the time, especially during a tournament week. It's been great speaking with you. But you've been at golf. You've been doing it for a while now. And the game's been a part of your life in different ways, and it's sort of developing into a new path here as well with statistics. How do you stay passionate about the game of golf?
Well, I've never seen golf as a job, to be honest. I've always had a lot of fun playing the game. I think, my mom and dad did a great job of that when I was when both Francesco and I were 8, 10 years old, 12 years old. They never pushed us to play the game. They said, we're going to the golf course. If you want to come, great. If you want to go hang out with your friends, same. Doesn't matter. As long as you stay outdoor and you practice a sport, then you can choose whatever you want. And I think that kept us very, very hungry in the game, very, eager to, keep playing, keep practicing, getting a little bit better. And then again, there was only one rule in our house, which is you have to go to school, and then you have good exams in school, then you can play golf. So school was first and then golf was second. So in a way, it was I want to go play golf. And, to this day, I still, I'm still very thankful of the opportunity to, being able to do golf, to be a professional golfer, to do, the job that I love. And as I said, I don't see it as a job at all. I mean, even to this day, I'm 43 years old and I've been professional now for almost 18 years. But I love just going, when I'm home in a week off, just waking up early. Now with kids, I do the school run in the morning and then I just go straight to the course by myself and just practice and get on the course and just try to get better. I've always been the type of person that once I do something, I want to do it extremely well. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and with golf, it's like a never-ending pursuit. It's like you just keep getting better, keep learning new things, keep trying to try new things, and with the whole goal of playing better golf. And I still love it, and I still, I think if I didn't love what I do, then I would have stopped playing a while ago already. But it's that motivation, is that passion for the game itself. It doesn't really matter whether it's a US Open, whether it's at home with the friends. I just love playing. Obviously, it's more fun if you play US Open. I get that, but I enjoy as much of, when I go play with a couple of friends of mine at home and we play 9 holes for, a Coke and a toast. It's as much fun.
Do you get to play with your brother a lot?
Yeah, well, he moved away from Italy for basically since 2009 all the way to last year. Yeah. Before he was in London, and then he moved to LA. So he moved back last summer, and obviously we play in different schedules because Francesco plays PGA Tour, I play more here. But anytime we're at home now, we really, like to play each other because we haven't seen much of each other for a long time. And it's great, it's great to have someone, a little bit better than me again that, I can take inspiration from and ask advice and try to beat. It's definitely been a massive help, I think, for both of us. I think he likes as well to, have someone to play with, someone that he's familiar with. And, I think from now on, he's still going to play a few PGA Tour events this year, and then he'll start to play a bit more in Europe in the fall. And I'm really looking forward to seeing more of him and playing and practicing more with him.
That's awesome. Is there a standing bet, or is it just bragging rights? I imagine. Well, just two brothers playing golf. That's wild to think.
It's more than enough between brothers. It's anytime you beat,
it's got to be plenty, right?
As always, yeah.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. What a talented family, and what a generous person you are for coming on and giving us some of your expertise and your time, Edoardo. Thanks so much, and good luck in Pinehurst.
Thank you, Tom. I much appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for listening, everyone. And if you enjoyed this episode, we strongly encourage you to become a member of the Golfer's Journal, or if you already are, to share it with your friends. As a reader-supported publication, we couldn't do it without you. We also couldn't do it without the help of our partners, and they are Titleist, Scotty Cameron, FootJoy, Holderness & Bourne, Omega, Charles Schwab, and BMW. We'll see you next time on the Golfer's Journal podcast.